Hi, welcome to James Miller Lifeology, where you learn to simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. My name is James Miller. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and a composer. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Let's get started. If you're anything like me, your health is very important to you. I know you listen to the show for tips to simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. Well, I have some great news for you. James Miller Lifeology has partnered with BioOptimizers Nutrition. As an avid nutrition and exercise enthusiast, I thought I knew a lot. But after taking the 12-week health course BioOptimizers offers and implementing their supplements, I noticed a huge difference in my energy and my digestive tract. Since you're a listener of Lifeology Radio, BioOptimizers is offering you the same 12-week course absolutely free. Go to jamesmillerlifeology.com/supplements to take this free course. Here is a sample of what you'd learn. How to get 70% more energy in 30 seconds or less. The ultimate key to high performance, health, and longevity. How to turn the tide against uncontrollable food cravings. How to select the most powerful supplements for you. How to stay lean and trim without sacrifice. The simplest and fastest way to detoxification and great skin. And much, much more. To get access to this awesome health course, simply go to jamesmillerlifeology.com/supplements and sign up today. Once again, visit jamesmillerlifeology.com/supplements or simply go to jamesmillerlifeology.com. I have a great show for you today. I'm going to encourage you to step into the unknown. I'll also be interviewing political and business turnaround consultant Steven Kuhn, who has the ability to create and maintain priceless relationships that allow him to live an extraordinary life. As a little boy, he knew he had a big purpose and stepped into the unknown to find his path. Today, he teaches us his principles of using honesty, integrity, and transparency to live an extraordinary life. For more information about Steven, please visit steven-kuhn.com. That's STEVEN-KUHN.com. I have some exciting news. Did you know that I'm on the radio 3 times a week? You may hear me on the same station on Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m., Fridays at 9:30 a.m., and Saturdays at 12:30 p.m. You may also hear me anytime on iHeartRadio as well as on all the other major podcasting platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and many others. Simply search for the show name, James Miller Lifeology. Step into the unknown. There's so many successful people that we see that we often think, oh my goodness, I wish I could be like them. Or sometimes there's no way I could even be close to being like them. The reality is that's not true at all. What separates the people who are successful from the people who are not considered successful is simply trying. Often we are fearful to step into the unknown because, for one, we don't know what to expect. And number two, we think we're going to fail. When you look at your surroundings today, do you feel satisfied? Do you feel like there's something more for you, that you just know in your heart that there's something greater than what's in front of you today? If you realize that, then unfortunately you may be experiencing some form of mediocrity in your life. That does not mean that your life is mediocre. It just simply means you know there's something greater for you. And if you don't move towards that, then you will have that sense of unfulfillment. It's so important to be true to yourself. Society often dictates what we should do in order to be successful. For some people, it's the traditional route of education. Some people go to university, perhaps get graduate degrees, and they do more of the corporate route. But that doesn't work for everybody. Everybody has their own path and their own journey. And if you find that you're being stuffed into a mold that really isn't you, then it is important that you break out of that mold. Did you realize that a tree can only grow as large as the pot that it's planted in? If it's a really large pot, of course, the tree is going to grow larger. Or, of course, if the tree grows in nature, it can reach its highest potential. But if your world is like that pot that says you have to conform, then you will never reach your highest potential. When you step into the unknown, it is very scary. I'm sure many people listening right now who have done that agree with me. I know when I made my transition and started working on Lifeology, I was pretty nervous. I wasn't certain of how it was going to turn out. Of course, I had my goals and dreams, but I wasn't sure what that path would look like. It's the same thing with you. Whatever it is you want to do, you may not know the steps that it takes to get there, but when you hold on to the end results, when you close your eyes and you see that pinnacle of what it means to reach that highest goal, that is going to help you step into the unknown. One of my favorite quotes is, "You can't hang out with chickens and expect to soar with eagles." If you find that your surroundings or the people with whom you associate are not allowing you to grow and to really thrive, then it's time to make new friends. Of course, you can have these other friends in your life, but when you want to be inspired, when you want to learn and grow and develop, you have to be around individuals who are going to encourage you, who have that same perhaps entrepreneurial spirit or that same creative mentality. Today is a day for you to really analyze those areas in your life where you don't feel fulfilled. If you want to step into the unknown, in other words, if you want to fulfill the dreams that have always been in your heart, then why not start today? Often we think, I will start tomorrow. But the reality is tomorrow never comes because something else always gets in the way. As you start to move your life in the direction you want to go, you'll find it becomes easier and easier. And what I mean by that is you find more confidence in your ability to succeed. Sure, you may not know how it's going to happen, or perhaps you don't have the opportunities yet, but the confidence is what you need. That understanding that regardless of how it appears externally, you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's going to happen. But that all starts with the people with whom you associate. What do you allow into your mind? What do you tell yourself? The self-talk that you create in your mind over and over again will determine your level of confidence. If you continually tell yourself that you're never going to be able to do something, more than likely you're not going to be able to do it. So you have to continually monitor your thoughts. You have to continually be watchful of what is spoken over you, of what you listen to. And as you step into the unknown, you'll find that it's easier and easier because you do have that confidence. And as you move forward, you'll find that opportunities open for you that you never imagined. I have a wonderful guest today who had that transformation himself. You're going to hear a wonderful story of how he stepped into the unknown, how he did things different than anybody else, and it's allowed him to be an incredibly successful person. So stay tuned for that. But for you, my friend, I'm excited. Today is a day for you to step into the unknown. Are you struggling today to find your purpose? Has mediocrity set in and you can't imagine doing the same thing for the rest of your life? Are your relationships struggling or you aren't sure how to make long-lasting changes in your life? Then today, contact me, James Miller. I will help you recognize the areas in your life that are going really well, and then we'll look at the areas in which you are struggling. We will create actionable solutions to help you create long-lasting changes in your life. You don't have to do this alone. Go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, and click on the page, Work with James. Fill out the form, and it will be sent directly to me. Don't let another day go by without finding your way. Your change can start today. Once again, go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, and click on the page, Work with James. Fill out that form to get started today. My guest today is Steven Kuhn, who has the ability to create and maintain priceless relationships that allow him to live an extraordinary life. From being a bodyguard to celebrities like Mick Jagger, to working side by side with Andre Bocelli, to starting over 20 successful businesses, as well as being a political and turnaround consultant for the past 20 years in 9 countries and across 15 different industries. He owes it all to the application of honesty, integrity, and transparency. Welcome to my show, Steven.
Thank you very much. That was quite an introduction. Thank you.
Well, it doesn't even begin to describe all the amazing things that you do. So I'm really looking forward to hearing about that. Now, you have a very diverse background. Tell us about that. Did you know as a little boy that you were going to live such an extraordinary life?
I knew as a boy. I have a twin brother, and we woke up one day. We were 8 years old, and we both had the same dream.
Really?
That we were out and we were out and about in the real world, and we had made it big, whatever that big was. But it didn't feel like money. It didn't feel like a Ferrari. It felt like big, like an impact on humanity. And we both said, okay, this is real. If we both had the same dream. And from that day on, I just sort of said, whatever happens, I have to take it all in. Mm-hmm. So, and that's just, I don't think you do it consciously, but I always, the stories I could tell of how I heard something and I turned it into an opportunity where other people would have just heard it.
Sure. And I think that's the difference between so many different types of people who do live an extraordinary life is they make that choice. They feel it in their hearts and they actually act on it, where sometimes so many dreams die stillborn.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, exactly. That's heavy.
I know, right? We're already heavy right now. Here we go. So then you did so many things and then you ended up going into the military.
Indeed I did. Well, in high school, I didn't do too many things except fight my personality and who I thought I was supposed to be and couldn't figure it out. Mm-hmm. And, I didn't like myself at all in high school. Matter of fact, I hated myself, and there was quite a few problems that I had in school because of that, and also societal wise. I think I had like 2 friends. Okay. And when I left for the military, it was to get out. It was I like to say, I was a patriot and all that kind of stuff, but my family has served in the military since the Revolutionary War, but that wasn't the main reason I went in. The main reason I went in was to get out, because I knew that if I ever wanted to grow, that I couldn't grow in the box that I was put in. I had to go to a limitless situation where I could perform myself. And literally, I remember the boot camp when they shaved my long 1980s feathered hairdo off. Yes, I know.
That's not telling the story. I'm just kidding.
The long feathered mullet.
Wow.
When they shaved that off, as soon as that, it was exciting because it was the first time in my life. I was 19 years old. They put that razor on my head and started shaving the hair off with one big chunks at a time. And I felt like they were shaving off a uniform, or they're shaving off like an old personality or a skin. It was amazing. And I felt I can be who I'm supposed to be now.
That is really powerful. It really is. It's so true because many people, or I shouldn't say many, some people really bloom in high school. And then it sounds like the majority of us usually bloom after college or actually in college. I know that was my situation. So it sounds like yours was as well. And to go from this place of feeling like you were kind of trapped, kind of like that goldfish, because a goldfish can only grow as large as the bowl that it's in. So you were able to move out of that. You went across the country, across the world, actually. And all of a sudden you have your borders were literally expanded in such an exponential way.
Yeah, and it was more internal than external, obviously, because I was trying to figure out who I was anyway. I had no idea, and so what I was able to do in the military was just to sort of look around and see how other people were and how they were, and just pick the best traits of the big. Like I was like a virgin to everything.
Yeah.
So literally everything. So at that time, so
that's funny.
So I I just popped in my head just when I said that, and it's true. So and I sort of picked out the things that I admired most in the people around me, like the drill sergeant with his tenacity, and the other guy with his holding his lip instead of talking, and this kind of thing. And I sort of picked up, okay, what makes the best people? What makes the best human being? And how can you be nice and also be stern? How can you be caring but also be direct, and that kind of stuff? So this is at a young age. I was already analyzing people. It was really strange. Wow. Yeah. It drove me nuts a little bit, actually.
Well, I'm sure at that age it did. But upon reflection, that's such a wonderful gift you gave yourself, because in that moment, you're constantly asking yourself, what am I learning about myself for this situation? And as people can always ask that question, they grow and develop exponentially.
Indeed. And you just, wow, that just, I need to listen to this recording later and write that down. That was actually perfect.
We are dropping bombs left and right, Steven.
Boom.
I'm just kidding. So how did you end up being a bodyguard for all these people?
Well, no, I was his bodyguard only for Mick Jagger. The other people I actually worked for in their businesses.
Oh,
Yeah. So Mick Jagger was a funny story. I was in Berlin, and this is what I was talking about. A story I could tell you about how I saw an opportunity in what other people just saw as information. As I listened to the radio, and they said Mick Jagger's in town for a concert. He's here for 3 weeks. He's doing 2 concerts in Berlin and 1 in Leipzig, and he's coming back to Berlin. And but his bodyguard, just on the side, like, and his bodyguard stayed in London because they hurt his back on stage jumping on a fan. Uh-huh. And I said they need a bodyguard. So because I had cocktail bars and was in the club scene in Berlin very heavy, I knew everybody in all the restaurant business and hotel business because they were all guests in my bars. So I went to the hotel where the Stones were, and I walked in. Hey guys, how's it going? And walked by, went back to the bar or whatever, and waited until the crew came down. And the crew came down with Mick, and they were sitting in the bar there. And I walked up. I said, "Hey, I'm the new bodyguard." And they're like, "Excuse me, who?" And I said, "Yeah." They said, "Who sent you?" I said, "I did. I heard on the radio, and I'm a U.S. veteran, and I'm a bodyguard. Like, I can be a bodyguard. That's what I did in the war, which I sort of didn't, but I was in a war with a gun. So what else are you going to be, right?" So, and and he said, "Talk to CJ." CJ was a security guy who's been with them since 1969. And I said, "Yeah, this is what I do." He goes, "All right. Do you know where to get a good sausage?" And I was like, "I do." And he goes, "You're hired." So I got $400 a day to be Mike Jagger, to actually go to every concert and be backstage and see everything that no one else gets to see. It was amazing.
That is amazing. Wow, that's cool. Yeah. I love how tenacious and bold you were. I mean, I think that in itself is a huge lesson. We don't get what we want if we actually don't put in the effort or just have the boldness to do it.
Well, and it's actually opportunity, because if other people would have heard that in the radio and they wouldn't have heard that his bodyguard was in London because he hurt his back, they would have heard Mick Jagger's in town.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Right?
And
nice reframe.
I don't know where that comes from, but I'm always hearing that. And my biggest gift is finding things for other people. So like sort of a facilitator or an incubator kind of thing. So you say you need, on the weekend, I was in this event in Croatia on a private island called Baby Bathwater. And Baby Bathwater.
That was really cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I met this woman there, and she was telling me this amazing, heartbreaking story about her grandfather who was in the Holocaust. And she told me about a watch that he gave her that was his grandfather's, and it was from IWC, which is an international watch company. And she wanted to get it appraised and couldn't find a place to do it. And in New York, they were only a showroom; they weren't da-da-da. Well, I happen to know that one of the directors is from IWC, so I wrote him a message on the spot and solved the problem for her like that.
Oh, that's so neat.
And so that's what I'm really good at.
Mm-hmm.
And usually that doesn't, all that pays is human capital, and I love it.
Yes.
That's
the biggest capital you really need.
Exactly. It's my favorite currency,
Yes. Well, let's switch gears here and talk about your honesty, integrity, and transparency principle. Tell us more about that.
Well, basically this. If I could break it down, I could say, okay, honesty, integrity, transparency is this. You're honest with yourself, and you're transparent about every decision you make and why you do what you do with yourself. And the byproduct of honesty and transparency is integrity. And the integrity allows you to live 100% authentic and actually hone your intuition. Now, living authentic and honing your intuition means you can dictate your own market value, which is why I get what I get for doing what I do. And what this also does is, because you're living a life of complete integrity with yourself, that reflects to everyone around you, and people trust you, and you're building like a human funnel, I guess you could say, where people trust you and they keep sending more people to you, and they go to your cells and you get referrals, and people just want to be with you and talk to you. Why? Because you elevate them constantly as well, because you're helping them all the time. That human capital we were talking about. So basically, HIT ensures that you're clear with yourself first. I mean, the reason you can stand there, but basically you can stand there naked on a stage and no one has anything on you, because you're always honest and transparent with everything that you do.
Yeah.
So, let's face it, when you put yourself out there, you got to be clean.
Yes.
And exactly. And when you want to be big time, you got to be big time inside out first.
Yes.
So that's basically what HIT does.
I really like that. In fact, I just recently did a show about that. I have a slightly different take on it, but I really love how yours, it's very concise and very precise, rather. Mine was essentially, if you can trust yourself in all situations, then you know that if you have a spike of emotion of some sort, then you know exactly how you're going to respond. You may not know the situation, it may be different, but you know you have your personal integrity to say, yes, I'm going to always respond this way. So when you have that peace of mind and that trust within oneself, it allows you to be more, live a life of more self-development or self-actualization, and then all these other opportunities come to you. But I really like how you really compartmentalize that.
Well, completely, and it came about because I was working for corporations as a freelancer. I was training their crews, and I used to call it conscious leadership, self-leadership, self-conscious leadership, conscious self-leadership, and I kept changing the name, but I couldn't find it. And then I kept using those three words: honesty, integrity, transparency. And then, but I used them in a different order, and it didn't make an acronym. Then one day I said, make an acronym out of this, and it was HIT. So people started calling me the Hitman. And I was like, well, you can't say no to that. Right?
I know, right? So, that's a great moniker. That really is.
So I said, okay, honesty, integrity, transparency. And it's funny, it fits perfectly. People say, why do you put integrity in the middle? I say, because it's the byproduct of honesty and transparency.
Yes. Yeah. That's a really good point.
So where transparency and honesty, you can be with yourself. You can't like create integrity. It's a byproduct, literally. I try to figure out how I can be, how my integrity can be the highest. And it's only through actions. So it's actually only a byproduct. You can't force integrity. You have to be.
Yes, exactly. Because in the moment you make that conscious decision on how you're going to respond.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I really like how you whittled it down to these three names, because I think sometimes things can just be so confusing for people. I think in the self-help world, it can be so, and I hate to say this, but it's so serious all the time, and it's so lofty, and it's so esoteric, and I'm like, oh my gosh, life is not like that. Life is a beautiful, wonderful thing. So I like how the word choices you use, it's audible to everybody. It's not only for certain people in academia or certain people who are perhaps in the business world, etc. This is something that every single person can practice.
Well, honestly, I literally think like that. So I'm the guy that when someone's freaking out because the copy machine's broken, I go and plug it in. Right? They're tearing it apart. The guy, you know what I'm saying? And I don't even think complicated. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't think complicated. So for me, it's quite easy to speak in layman's terms, so to say. And this weekend, the same thing. A couple times, people were like, "Is that it?" Like, people are talking for 20 minutes, and I say 3 words, and they're like, "That's it?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's it." And I'm like, "Well, I guess you're right. That is it." There's no fluff, man.
Exactly.
It's like
I really like, as well as even thinking about this, even in my own life, unfortunately, you look at the social media now, and so many things have come out about people's past, or perhaps even their current situation, and there isn't that integrity. And by no means am I judging anybody at all, because we all make choices. But there is that part that in the privacy of our home or in the privacy of our phone, those types of things, or even emails, if we are not careful today, tomorrow that could be shouted from the rooftops. So it's so important to live a life of honesty, integrity, and transparency, because in that you will always be authentic. It will always protect you.
And it's funny you say that, especially anything you record. on
my gosh.
paper, in email,
Yes.
online nowadays. It's gonna be there forever.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I honestly, I invite anyone to find dirt on me. There's dirt out there, but I've already declared it, so it's fine. So I've already faced it, so there's no new dirt. So yeah.
Crap, I may need to do that myself now to declare mine.
Just declare it.
Just declare, right?
Good to go, yeah, and record that sucker and put it on.
I love it. That's really wise. How have you found that the honesty, integrity, and transparency, how is it really revolutionizing all the different businesses you're working with? Because you've done so many things in the past 20 years over all these different industries. How has that principle really changed and manifested in the people with whom you work?
Well, let me tell you the story of how I ended up working for Andrea Bocelli with zero experience in the industry, no contacts in the industry, and on a retainer when no one in the business industry or in the music industry ever got a retainer.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone not listening who doesn't know who Andrea Bocelli is, he's the number one opera singer in the world.
Amazing.
So he's like basically our generation's version of Pavarotti. Mm-hmm. He's blind. He's inspirational. He's an amazing human being. So it was the most profitable haircut I'd ever gotten. I was in a barbershop in Dusseldorf, and it was run by these Italian guys. And it just so happens that the guitarist for Andrea Bocelli was in there getting his haircut with his girlfriend, who was also a guitarist. And we got to talking, and I managed to score a meeting with Andrea and his wife in London. I had to fly to London. I brought my wife. We watched the concert, and we ended up meeting Andrea in the backstage. And the thing that struck me was he was very sad. He was very melancholy. And I thought, wow, that's, poor guy. So we went, it was time for our pictures, and his wife took the picture. And I walked up and I touched him on the shoulder. And I said, hello, Andrea, pleasure to meet you. And he smiled. And at that time, they took the picture at that moment.
Oh,
and his wife and his crew and everybody said, he never smiles, never. And to me, it was like, well, of course he smiled. It's like I gave him so much love. No, it's like I gave him so much love and so much unconditional, non-expectational. Like I had no expectations of this guy at all, zero. And this is the secret that I have, is that I can never be disappointed because I have no expectations, not from anyone that I go into. So that's always the big thing for me. So, I got the meeting the next day at the hotel. So when I showed up, Andrea wasn't there. Only his wife was there with her assistant. And anyone else would have been like, oh man, he stood me up. But me, didn't bother me.
Sure.
I was talking to somebody and that was it. So I didn't know anything about the industry, so it was good to do. So I sat down and basically this is how the conversation went. So I did my homework and I was able to quickly point out the gaps in their business model as far as their contracts were going to be renewed in Europe. Right. And also the guitarists that had talked to me also needed new contracts. And I showed them how I could grow their business in a matter of weeks. It was simple for me. I'd never been in the industry before, but I knew business. So that was fine with me. Yeah. And at first she was like shocked that I even had this information. And I said, well, of course I do my homework. And I said, and after we talked, she said, what do you want? I said, I want 20% of the business of the 20% of the takings of the business, which is standard, by the way, for the music industry, for any managers. And then I wanted a retainer. And she literally laughed in my face. I said, no one gets a retainer in the music industry. That's unheard of. But 20 minutes later, I walked out of there with a retainer and agreement that I kept for the whole 2 years that I worked with them.
That's awesome.
And within 2 weeks, I was in the first meetings in London with the CEOs of the top record labels.
Wow.
And this is what I'm famous for. Like I'm not famous for landing the impossible deal. I get anybody's private cell phone number, and I can land a meeting with just about anybody, and get people to pay attention to what I have to say. And it's only because I have no expectations. So when I called Sony, I'll never forget. I called Sony and I said, yeah, hello, this is Steven Kuhn from Andrea Bocelli. I have a business proposition for you that'll take about 10 minutes. I'd love to chat with you really quickly in person in London next week or the week after. What do you think? And they said, you're not from this industry, are you? I said, I am not. And they said, great. When can you be here? So, cool. So it showed me right then, the people are sick of the same old thing.
Yes.
They want, they want authenticity. They want real people. Yeah. And why should I sell something to them? So I had zero expectations. She felt it on the phone. I had zero expectations. Like, okay, this guy can't do me any harm. He doesn't want anything. Let's just come and see what he has to say.
That is really cool. And it kind of goes back to just the whole thing with Mick Jagger as well. I mean, your whole aspect of, I have nothing to lose. I'm going to go up there and just tell him this, and whatever happens, happens.
Yep. Did the same thing with Olivia Newton-John, and I helped her launch her company in 7 countries in Europe.
Wow.
I brought her back then here 3 times, or I facilitated bringing her back to Hungary 3 times, because I don't know if she has a self-diagnosis breast cancer kit. And the doctor is actually Hungarian.
Oh,
and it's like a silicone pillow you put on top of your breast, even for men, by the way. And you can feel the lumps. You can feel the lumps in your breast or your chest really easily. And I had her back here helped her come back here 3 times to do the pink, the pink march that they have here every year. Yeah, so it's just. And when I'm in Vegas, I say hi and we stop and see your show and that kind of stuff. So it's quite cool.
Is that something that's over here in the United States as well? the self-diagnosing breast cancer?
Yes, it is indeed. Yes, it is.
Cool.
It's her big deal. She opened a center, and about a year and a half, 2 years ago now, she opened a center for cancer research in Australia, where she's from. So she's a big proponent. If you want, I can put you in touch with her publicist. He's a really good friend of mine.
Yeah, let's talk about this offline. That's cool.
Okay, cheers.
Well, it has been such an absolute pleasure talking to you, Steven. If my listeners would like to find out more information about you and all the amazing things you're doing, and I mean, like I said, you've done so many amazing things, where would they find this information online?
My private telephone number. I'm just kidding.
That's funny.
It's Steven Kuhn.
Uh-huh.
So it's Steven with a V, KUHN KUHN.com. Steven-Kuhn.com. And my Facebook page is Steven Kuhn Official. I have a Facebook group called The Humble Man. It's for men seeking primal masculinity without the macho aggression.
Nice.
And then I have the Immediate Impact Coaching Club as well, which is on my website. And I have one-on-ones, which is also on my website. So if you go to steven-kuhn.com, you see everything right there.
Excellent. So what I'm going to do in the show notes as well is I'm also going to put all your contact information on social media in the show notes too. So if my listeners aren't able to find this you're unable to find it on any of the social media handles, simply go to my website, jamesmillerlifeology.com, and in the show notes for this particular show, you will find all the information there. Steven Kuhn, once again, thank you so much for being a guest today. I really appreciate your time.
Excellent. I had a blast. It was like it flew by. I feel like I was talking to an old buddy. This is awesome. I really appreciate it, man.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll speak soon.
I also want to thank you, the listener, for tuning in today. Please subscribe to this radio show through whichever portal you joined with us today, or please go to my website where you may sign up for my free newsletter, watch my YouTube episodes, read the articles I've written specifically for you, or you may enroll in the Lifeology Academy where you can take self-directed courses which will help you simplify and transform your spirit, mind, and body. If you'd like to personally work with me, be a guest on, or advertise in this show, simply visit jamesmillerlifeology.com. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms under the name James Miller Lifeology, except for Twitter, which is James M. Lifeology. Once again, thank you so much for your support, and I'll talk to you soon.